Hi everyone. We are live now, and how is everyone doing? Hope all is well and stay safe during this season. Huh? We will start the session very soon, and if you have just joined us, do like, tag, and share with your friends so that many will come to enjoy this sharing session. Welcome to the 26th edition of my live session. My name is Xing, and I will be your host for today. Before I begin, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you who are watching right now, as well as for those who are watching the replay later on. For those who are watching for the first time, this live is all about us, our stories. Everyone has a unique story to tell. We may not realize it, but many have inspired. Your story, your unique story, may inspire someone out there, especially in this extraordinary time. So we thought that through this sharing session, everyone will be able to connect better, share, and learn from each other experiences. So do you have one? So do connect with us and reach out to me on my every link provided below. Today, I'm very excited to have a special guest with me, live from Melbourne. He is a professional storyteller, story coach, and arts lover. So let us find out more about what she actually does. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us put our hands together to welcome Miss Durgah Devi Palanisamy. Hi, Durgah. First of all, I would like to thank you for joining us today for this interview. I'm very grateful to have you today to share your wonderful and exciting story with all of us.
Thank you for having me. It is really an honor to be able to spend, this time on the weekend with you, and hopefully, I'll have something to share that will inspire you or make you think, or think differently about something that you already think about right now. So, I'm excited to share what little I know.
So, can you briefly tell us about yourself?
All right. So my name is Durgah Devi Palanisamy, and I was born in Singapore. I studied in Brisbane. So I did my university in English and theatre. And then I went back to Singapore and I joined a wonderful company, and I was working with them as a speech and drama educator for 12 years, and did amazing stuff with them in Singapore. And they even have a branch in Malaysia. So that's the Julie Gabriel School of Educations. And that's where my foundation, my love for stories, being working with kids, that's where I studied all of that. um, and then in 2015, my husband decided that we was going to move to Australia. So it was with a broken heart that I left everything behind in Singapore. And we moved here 5 years ago. My husband, myself, and my three beautiful children. I've got a daughter who's 16. I've got a son who is 13, and my littlest man is 9 years old. So when I came here, I already had a connection with the storytelling community in Singapore. And it was one of those things, right, that when I came here, it was my constant. It was something that, it felt like home for me. There were people here who received me with open arms, and it was something that was familiar. So I was really thankful for the storytelling community in Melbourne and Australia itself. And they reached out, they embraced me, and they made me feel welcome. And I felt like home. And that's how it kind of started here. That's why I decided that, you know what, I do want to do this, because when I came here, I was going to, after working full time and being part of a theater and art scene in Singapore, I was going to come here and be a housewife. I was going to give up everything and take care of my children. And that was something that I wasn't prepared for. Sometimes I still think I'm not prepared for it, but it's already been 5 years. um, and my storytelling, my journey in my storytelling, what I do has kept it sane for me. it's kept me. It has allowed me to do what I love doing. I love telling stories. I love meeting people. I love educating young people with the questions, the conversations about, hey, how can you think about something differently? And so it has been my blessing that I found storytelling, and I continue to build a relationship with this. So that's me.
What brought you to Melbourne? Since your
Good question, Shing. As I told you, I was actually very, very happy in Singapore. And it was my husband's decision to move, so that we can give our children, a future or opportunities that they would like to do as they grow up. And as a parent here, I can see the difference, the way that they are, the kind of people that they are becoming. It is very, very different, raising a family in Melbourne as opposed to raising a family in Singapore or Malaysia. Just the way they think, family values, as I said, it takes a village to raise a child. And sometimes the lack of that village here does get a bit frustrating. But that's it. We came here for our kids. And now this is what it is. Melbourne.
now that you have been here for close to 5 years now, so do you miss any of your favorite local food?
Oh, tell me about it. Oh my God, I can give you an entire list of all the things that I miss and I'm looking forward to going back to. Um, but you know what? That is definitely something that we've always had these conversations with, right? So I've got friends who've moved to Melbourne and have been here for like 15, 16, 17 years. And they'll always tell me this, say, if you had come the time that we'd come, you'd probably be like miserable. Because actually, in Melbourne, where I am, there's Malaysian Kampong restaurant, which is like a 10-minute drive from me. There's a Malaysian Laksa kitchen or Malaysian Laksa restaurant, which is also like, a few minutes away. And there's Colonial Cafe that dishes out, it's Nyonya treats and kuehs, and it's not the same, but it's enough to be satisfied. So as much as I do miss everything that is there, I think the connection of it is that, or the learning for me has been, there's always opportunities out there if you start looking for it. I still go out, I'll have like my plate of chwee kueh, and I've made so many friends who've gone, I didn't know they sell this here. And that's what it is. It's not just the food that we miss, it's the people, the environment. And I'm working towards creating that community for myself. So yeah, I find my little ways. I find it. I make it work for me.
You are. I know that you mentioned briefly about your career journey a little while ago, and you are now a professional storyteller, a
I
story
am.
coach, and arts lover, right? So that is a very interesting role, a job. That's something. So maybe you can actually tell us more about what you do.
So as a storyteller, I'm an oral storyteller, right? So I know, like, the first thing that you come into your mind when you say storyteller, what is that? Are you somebody who tells stories in the libraries? Like, what is it that I do? So I want to tell you a story, obviously, right? So when I was, I think maybe about 4 years ago, I went back, and there was going to be a storytelling festival at the National Library of Singapore. So I told my niece, I said, hey, I'm going to go and tell some stories in the library. And the first thing she asked me was, you're going to tell stories at the library? Does it mean you're going to put everybody to sleep? And it was a question that I was like, no. That's not what storytellers do, because I think our relationship with stories is usually, or they say, during bedtime. Our relationship with stories is, I don't know what it is. It's for children. They're storybooks. But actually, you know what? It is a world that is out there. Storytelling is in everything that we do. Storytelling is in your marketing strategies. Storytelling is where how you set up an idea. And people will say, right, the best way to plant an idea is by telling a story. So I tell stories in schools. I tell stories in other storytelling spaces. I've worked with at the Raw Garden in Melbourne, working with storytelling circles aimed for wellness for women, for anybody who want to come in and listen or share a story, and it becomes a space that is safe to tell. This is my journey. So sometimes I also tell personal tales. A lot of the times I do a lot of oral folk tales, like stories that are from the Mahabharata, stories that are from India, lots of things. So I will tell a story wherever I get the opportunity to do it. A lot of the work that I do in Melbourne is in schools. So, it is a bit difficult right now with COVID and the fact that you can't have face to face sessions. So, that is a bit, it is a bit disappointing, but it is what it is. And it's something that is constant. It's part of who we will be. If I ask you, Shing, I said, what is your favorite story while you were growing up? What is one story that you loved listening to as a child? What would your answer be?
Well, I think I would like to listen to humor, funny stories.
Yeah. So things that are
Yeah,
funny, because
yeah.
stories have got so many things that they can offer to us. One of my favorite quotes is by Albert Einstein, and he said this. He said, "Imagination is more powerful than knowledge." So knowing something is important, but imagining about it is the possibilities that become real is incredible. And I think stories are a great way to do that. That's why, the world's best storytellers have the ability to, share a message without even realizing that they're doing that. People like in Obama, he was a wonderful storyteller. People who we look up to and go, hey, you know what, that person has got a great presence, or that person is able to tell something in story form that is amazing, or you want to listen to what that person has to say, because it's packaged nicely, in a story form. And so I'm a very firm believer that our stories are not just experiences, the narrative that writes us, who we are, what our story is something that we can always, it's up to us. We can change the narrative whenever we want to. And it's just really up to me whether I want to do it or not. So our stories are very important. The stories that we say, the stories that we hear are very, very important. So I'm really, really proud to be a storyteller.
So that means the story can be anything, right? Anything. It
It
can
can
be
be
about it can
like
be
the
about
the, the
someone.
oldest story, right, is gossiping, right? So hey, Shing, do you know what happened yesterday? Right, I went out and I went to Chadstone and I got this and I did that and I went here, and that's how it starts, doesn't it? So our oral tradition is that where somebody starts sharing stories, and then from one generation it goes to the other. You hear your grandmother telling you stories, say, when I was little, this, I used to go here and I used to do this, or and stories get transferred generation through generation, families to the from the old elder to the younger. And that's how these stories, right, get transferred. And the stories are there for a very, very good reason. They are there to help us deal with our lives, because stories have a lot to teach us, right? They've given us like a different mindset. They've given us the opportunity to think something from a different perspective. They give us ideas on how we can deal with difficult situations in our lives. So there are a lot of different categories that these stories are. And I'm talking about the oral traditional ones, things that can help children with doing the right thing. But honestly, like even the traditional ones, like The Boy Who Cried Wolf, things that we grew up listening to. So it's a great opportunity to say, hey, instead of going, oh, you must only speak the truth, you must only say. As a child, you would go, but why must I do that? Why is honesty so important? So to ground them in some way of thinking of what is right, storytelling can be a great way to do that. And to go, hey, about that story about that boy who cried wolf, what happened to him? He got into a lot of trouble. And suddenly it's just that opportunity, like I'm telling you to do what's right, but I'm also not telling it to you. So, I think as a parent, I've also employed a lot of storytelling in my parenting style, because it's sometimes you say the same thing. Don't do it, don't say this, don't be like that, don't come here, da, da, da. And then suddenly I go, what, let's listen, let's read a story. And I've been very, very fortunate because I've got a lot of friends who've done great resources, like where's the book? There you go. So this is a book. There you go. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can see. Yeah.
Where is it? There you go. So this book is actually one that says Stories for Moral Education. And there are two books in it. And they are, they are page-long stories. It's just one page long. And they're tiny, tiny stories about folk tales around the world. So it's a little like storytelling anthology. So I don't even really have to like work that hard to go and get a good story, because I've got all these little resources around me. It's available everywhere, and it's just a matter of whether you want to do it or not. So, I think the offer is that don't label storytelling. Don't think that it's only one thing. um I do it for I've done it for old aged care workers. I've done it once here for aged care workers. I've done it for children. I've done it in preschools. I've done it in libraries. I've done it in festivals. I've done it for adults. um I've done it for I haven't done it enough, but I would love to do more for corporate storytelling purposes. There's so many things that you can do, because storytelling is really how you build your brand. Is the way into the future.
I see. So from what I understand so far, uh, your audience is everyone.
Yeah,
It can be catered to everyone of all ages. And,
everybody.
and the story can be anything, nothing, anything from fictional to non-fictional as well.
We do it can be anything, right? Because I go by the fact that I am an oral storyteller. So I love telling stories that are from the Aesop fables, or from the Panchatantra stories that are Indian collection of stories. So for me, I love doing things that are already there and sharing that wisdom to more people. If I don't tell you the story, you're never going to know about it, right? So a very famous one is about the tortoise and the hare, where the rabbit is going, oh, I'm really quick, I'm really quick, I'm really quick. And then the tortoise is really slow and steady, slow and steady. And the rabbit thinks that he's so clever that he runs off way fast, way past into the race. But the tortoise is just waiting and waiting and waiting, slow and steady, slow and steady, slow and steady. And then the rabbit, being a little arrogant rabbit that he is, he goes, oh, I'm just going to take a little nap now, and he sits down by the tree. And then he waits and he falls asleep. And in the time that he falls asleep, the little turtle is making one step, one step, one step, one step, one step towards the finishing line. And eventually, the tortoise wins the race. And the moral of that story, it's such a popular story, right? That I've always heard growing up. Slow and steady will win the race. And it's such a great lesson to teach not only our children but a reminder for us that sometimes we're feeling a bit stagnant, or we're feeling that, oh, you know what, we have to be the rabbit. If I do something, I have to go and get it done right now. I have to rush, and everything needs to be done. But then there's so much of lessons that we can learn from the tortoise as well, that you know what, if you take one deliberate step in the right direction, it is going to get you past that finishing line. And and those kind of stories are a great reminder for us, especially now with the pandemic, with the lockdown, with feeling frustrated. So I got to tell myself sometimes this as well, babe, slow and steady, slow and steady, you got this. So it's a matter of some positive self-talk as well. And I get my positive self-talk from the stories that I read and the stories that I know.
So the story is not just about yourself, right? It can be anything that is
It can be
inspiring.
anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I do tell personal tales as well, but that's not the only thing we do. So that's it's a wonderful magical world of storytelling, um, and it spans from folk tales to fairy tales. Australia is so fortunate that there's an Australian Fairy Tale Association as well, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're having their annual conference right coming up in the next couple of weeks or so. So there's so many places, right, that are bursting with resources and people with the love to share stories. So there's folk tales, there's fairy tales, there's stories from different languages, there's personal tales, there's so many things out there, Ching, that are actually quite fascinating.
Yeah. Has this always been your passion all along?
Yeah, I think so. I when I look back, so I'm the only child in my family, right? And my childhood was really based on storytelling. My mom would read a lot to me. I loved reading, so I grew up with a lot of Annie Blyton books. Do you remember those? Like,
Mm.
Annie Blyton books was like my favorite thing ever. And when I was very young, actually, my father used to get me these books called Amar Chitra Kada. Okay, I'm gonna show it to you. As an adult, I actually have the entire like series of it now. Hold up, where is it? Let me grab one. There you go. Let me see what came out. Aha, my favorite. So these books, right? They are called Amar Chitra Kada books, and they're really, really thin. Can you see that? There's like, they're very, very thin books. But are you ready for this? They are all written in comic forms.
Ah, okay.
So this one's about the Mahabharata. And so my dad used to buy me books and books of this, and I would just sit down and read. And it was just uh I would imagine myself being some of the characters in the book, like whether you are in war, or whether I'm walking through, like the language that they use is so descriptive that it's so easy to be sucked into their narrative. And this is one of the books that I think I would credit to the fact that I love the stories that I tell so much. Began in my childhood. So yes, I have been passionate about stories and storytelling for a very long time.
So the books are where you get your daily inspiration from, is it?
I would say so. I do. And my inspiration also comes because I'm part of a very large worldwide storytelling community. And Facebook is great for that. So almost every day there will be some news about, some certain storytelling that's happening. Like, early this morning, or I think it was 1:30 in the morning, I got to listen to a storytelling that was done in the Hans Christian Andersen Center in America. And, they were doing a virtual storytelling session. One of my favorite storytellers as well is Len Cabral, and he was telling a story about Anansi that I haven't heard in such a long time. So, the pandemic, I guess, has its little pros in that sense, where because everything is now virtual, a lot of things are available to everybody worldwide. I got this opportunity to listen to this story, and if, if not, I wouldn't have gotten that chance, right? So I know I put it down on my calendar. I was like, I know it's very late in Melbourne, but I was going to stay up and watch it. And, the link of it is available on my Facebook. So everybody who wants to listen to the story or wants to hear what kind of things that are available, is there. So, find the motivation, find the thing that keeps you going. And this is what keeps me going.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, how do you get yourself motivated every day?
That is it. I guess I motivation is one of those things that I have a very hard relationship with. I think it's very easy to slip into like a plateau and not feel like I want to do anything or say anything or be like, "Oh, I don't want to do anything right now." And I've been into that spaces many, many, many times before. And I think I tell myself sometimes it's okay to feel a bit down today. And I'll give myself some time. I'll be like, today, if you don't feel like it, it's fine. But you can't stay like that for a very long time. And, I find the things that I need to do. And sometimes it's just a matter of whether you want to do it or not, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. It's like, the Nike advertisement, right? Just do it. And that's my motivation comes. I've got two types. I've got externally driven motivation, and then I've got things that I really feel passionate about, and definitely storytelling is right up there.
Do you have someone that you always look up to as mentor?
Well, I've got so many mentors. It's, I think I can't say that I will just look and admire one person. um my main mentor is my late mom. I think she has been my strength and my educator, and in times where I didn't even think that she was trying to teach me something, she has. So besides mom, right now for storytelling, I've got so many people who I look up to. I mean, I can give you the whole list. I will be here the whole day. um I think the most important thing is that everybody has a lesson to share. Everybody's experience is worth something. And if the lessons are there, they're always there. The question is, am I listening to it? Are we actually listening to the right thing, or are we listening to what we want to listen to? So there's a really big difference in that, and I'm also working around it. It's like, ah, is that what you want to listen, or is it what the learning is? So I get inspired every day by people, by what I see. I get inspired by strength. I get inspired by stories. Just keeps me going.
Let's go back to the year 2020. Yeah? I mean, we all know that last year was one of the most extraordinary year. So
It
can you share
was.
with us actually how do you spend your time during lockdown last year, and any lesson that you have actually learned from last year?
Last year was probably the single most toughest year in my life. So I turned 40 in 2019. And that was a great year. I was full of love from my family, from my friends. It was a year celebrating all my relationships. I had a great time, right? And the awesomeness of 2019 was really matched with 2020, where everything was slowly, actually, like literally shutting down. And during the first lockdown in Melbourne, I think I did really well. I had a plan. I was going to do this. The three kids were at home. That was very, very challenging, because if you're a parent, you will know, right? With three children in the house, there's all these restrictions about you can't go out, you can't do this, you can't do that. And then, the like little tensions spark at home. And I found myself having to deal with that little things, a bit more often than I would like to. But when the second lockdown came, I was in such a bad place mentally. I struggled with it a lot. I felt, because I've been here for 5 years, right? But what was surprising for me was that within my 5 kilometers, I didn't really know a lot of people. And it made me question what I was doing here. How is it that within my 5 kilometers, right, I probably know like two people? And and then it made me think that I've been sitting in my comfort zone. I've been sitting in what's comfortable for me. Like, I've been sitting in my family, my home, my kids, my friends, my relatives. All of this was me. And then when the lockdown happened, those were not accessible, and that really like did me in. And so at the end of the second lockdown, I joined a couple of Facebook groups, which is one of the reasons why we're here today, because it was that decision to join that Facebook group. And then I started meeting a bit more people and putting myself out there. And I think the biggest lesson, right, that I've learned from the lockdown is that you can't expect things to happen for you if you're not willing to make it work. And I think in that sense, I have been very privileged, or in a way, like very I take it for granted that yeah lah, I'll meet people, and I kind of like didn't put myself out there. I didn't make myself available. I didn't go out and meet people. So now I'm making up for all that time. I'm making sure that what, I'm doing the work. There are friends around me, and we're doing the right thing. So that's really important.
So, what are your exciting plans in store for this year?
Plans I've got a lot. So right now I'm currently working on my website, Delightful Tales. So that is another thing, right, that I've been procrastinating for such a long time. I'm finally working on it. I'm working on publishing a children's book at the end of the year. So I've got also working towards a festival performance in Singapore. So I'm doing things that will, keep my jar full, make me happy, keep me happy, and hope to share the love of happiness with more people.
Wow. So now that you have actually learned what from the previous, and
This year.
basically you're taking your whatever things that you're doing internationally as well.
But it is, because the whole of last year went, and I look back and what have I done? Nothing, and it's going to happen. Time and tide waits for no man, and we know that, right? It doesn't wait for anybody. So it's either the whole year is just going to go, or you look back and say, you know what, I did at least this, and that's all I can pray for.
Yeah. I guess that all of us are going through the same thing, right? So it's a matter of how do you see, how do you perceive, how do you do, how do you react to it, right? So
Yep. It is what it is, right? They will say that it's only 10% of what happens. 90% of it is how we react to it. So, work on our reactions.
yeah. So basically, if you don't see any opportunity coming, just like you go and create yourself.
Make it work. I've been sitting on this idea of a book. I think maybe for years, and people who know me they'll tell you that I've been talking about this for a very long time, but I always will find excuses not to do it. It's like, oh, what if it isn't very good? Or what if I can't find an illustrator? What if I can't do the publishing? And now I've gone, you know what? It is what it is. Just do it. So,
Yeah.
that feels great though. That really does.
I think during this lockdown is a good time for all of us, right, to reflect what we have do. I mean, what we've done, and whether we can do
Absolutely.
better.
Absolutely.
And if you were to want to describe yourself in 3 words, how do you describe yourself?
So I asked this question out to my friends before, and a lot of them came back as hilarious. Um, the way I would like to describe myself is that I think I'm somebody who's um, I'm very warm. I love talking to people. I am an extrovert. I love learning, whether it is something new, or it's a new story, or it's a new education. I never stop learning. Even now, I'm in the midst of completing my Cert 4 in training and assessment. I'm 42 years old. A lot of people might say, yeah, already 42 years old, 3 children. I mean, what's more to it, You're living it up already in Melbourne. I mean, it's also a formula to go, okay, I'm done. But is it? It's something that I know I want to keep on learning. And I think, and I also want to share my love for learning with people, because we never stop. We'll never ever stop.
Well said. What do you want to be known for?
I would like to be known for a keeper of stories. I would like to be known for the fact that, you know, I I love stories more than telling them, right? I love listening to it. You can see all my Audible podcasts are stories of myth and legends, and that's what I want to be known for. I want to be known for somebody who really, really loves the stories that are out there in the world and wants to share it with more people.
Wow, you have your own podcast as well.
Oh no, I listen to it. I don't.
Okay.
Let me just work on one business plan first. And maybe when things happen, I might have a delightful tale podcast in the future. But now, as it is, as we're speaking, because of COVID, and there are so many valuable podcasts that are available on the internet. The Federation of Asian Storytellers are based in Singapore. They have a wonderful podcast called Story Walk. The Newport Storytellers based here in Melbourne, they've got a podcast that's available as well. So there are a lot of things that people, good quality work that people are putting out. So it's just a matter of finding the right thing to listen to, finding the right thing to feel energized and have a great day.
You mentioned earlier on that almost everyone can become a storyteller, right?
Everyone is a storyteller. We just don't know it
Sorry.
yet.
So, what will you say to someone who actually aspire to do what you're doing? I know.
Just do it. As we had this conversation before, there is no right time to start. Nobody is, if you're going to wait to be a good storyteller, that's never going to happen. You for whatever it is, right? You can't wait to be a good businessman to do business. You can't wait to be the perfect chef to start cooking. You got to start doing it, and then things will fall in place. So for anybody who is interested in any kind of storytelling, just send a message. Come see the storytelling that is available. The Newport Storytellers meet the third Friday of every month, either virtually or face to face. So there are people who can do it together with us at the same time. So it feels great. So don't wait, just do it.
Awesome, everyone. This concludes my live session for today. I'm sure that you have enjoyed her sharing session. Before I end, do you have any more things to say to all of us?
I do, right? So I'm going to end with a tiny little story, um, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay? Tannanadinan 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 tannane tannanadinam tannane tannanadinan tannanadinan tannanadinam tannane tannanadinam tannane. Once upon a time, just once upon a time, not twice, not three times, just once upon a time, there was a girl. And she was living in a beautiful house with a husband, and they were very, very happy together. Now, this girl, she grew up listening to lots and lots of songs and lots of stories. And she used to listen to stories from her grandmother, from her mom, and she loved it. But as she got older and older and older, she kind of started forgetting these stories, just like the way we would. You know, life takes over. We need to go to work. We need to take care of the children. And the story started going deeper and deeper and deeper inside her. And soon she never made time for the story. But the stories and the song, they were deep inside. And they were really waiting to come out. They were waiting to be heard and go back into the world again. So one day, when she was fast asleep, story and song burst out and they came out. And story became a pair of shoes, and song became a beautiful suede coat. And they changed themselves just like they would in stories, and they hung and they waited. And that day, when the girl's husband came home, he got into a huge fight with her. He got so angry because he was like, who was here? You got to tell me the truth. But she didn't know, did she? So he was very angry and he walked off. And as he walked off, he slammed the door and he walked, he passed straight into the temple of the monkey god. And he sat there and he prayed. He said, why is this happening to me? Well, why wouldn't you tell me the truth? And at that time, Shing, something amazing happened. While he was waiting in this temple, he noticed this thing. It was a tiny little flames, the flicker in everybody's house, and the flickers had gathered in the temple to share the stories of what had happened in the house that day. And the flicker from this man's house, he came huffing and puffing, huffing and puffing, huffing and puffing. And he said, oh, guess what happened today? There was a big fight in my house. The man and the woman, they fought. And the man, he was so angry, but the woman didn't know that it was actually the story and the song that had come out of her and changed magically into a pair of shoes and a coat. He says, but they fought and he left and I don't know what's going to happen. And the man heard all these and he was like, wow. And you know what? He went back home and he asked his wife, he said, wife, I'm really sorry I got mad at you, but do you have a story that you want to tell me? Do you have a song you want to sing? And she sat down and she said, well, I don't remember anything anymore. And he sighed and he said, well, that's a lesson for us to learn, that if you have a story and if you have a song, say it, sing it. Because if you don't, it might leave you one day and you won't be able to find it. So, my offer to you and everyone who's listening today, if you have a story, say it. If you have a favorite song, sing it. Because that's the only way forward. And then we can all listen to the stories and we'll all be happy together. So thank you for having me, Shing. It was wonderful. The story that I just shared is from an Indian folktale. It's by A.K. Ramanujan. And the full version of the story is available online. It's called The Flowering Tree and Other Stories. So go check it out. Go listen to it. And I hope if you do enjoy stories like this, there's so many more available on the internet, in places, call Shing, call me. And I hope to see you safe in story.
Wow, what an amazing way to sum up our live session today. Once again, thank you, Durgah, for your time and your wonderful session today. I really like to thank you and also everyone for watching my live today, as well as for those who will be watching the video replay later on. So if you do like this live, please remember to share and let your friends know. Please follow me on my Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and also Durgah on her Facebook link at all the address provided at the bottom of this screen. So I will see you all next time, and until then, have a great weekend ahead. Thanks. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.